So the thing happened again. I was playing at a church this past weekend and one of the musicians gave me a really nice compliment. He said I had great tone and I did a great job of filling space. This dude is an incredible musician, so I was honestly just stoked he said anything positive about me. But we do need to unpack this filling space thing. Let's start by defining it. Filling space essentially means what it sounds like. Our playing is filling up the sonic space in a way that makes the band feel full. But what's weird about filling space is I've really only heard this term in reference to worship music, which is sort of a less is more style of guitar playing. So that ultimately begs the question, how do we fill up space without overplaying? There's a ton of different ways, so I've tried to break it down into 3 levels for simplicity's sake. One of the main things worship guitarists play when they're asked to fill space are swells. I have a love-hate relationship with swells, but maybe you're playing with a keyboardist who isn't laying down a pad, or maybe you want something just for a little extra vibe just to make it feel live, then swells can be a good go-to. Here's what you're gonna do. I like to leave on my compression and first stage drive for a little bit of sustain. Then I'll throw on a delay and then whatever my longest decay modulated reverb sound is. Then we'll swell into our notes either using our volume knob on the guitar or our volume pedal. Just playing full chords, but what also works is swells on single notes and triad shapes based around a root. So if we were in the key of A, I might go to this D-shaped A triad and swell on notes and double stops within here. Remember that less is more, and you don't need to catch every melody and chord change. Now, let's go up a level with pad style sounds. This is a trick that a worship guitar mentor taught me a long time ago, and it just blew my mind. Essentially, we're gonna grab the same kind of tone, but we're gonna switch to our neck pickup here, and we're gonna actually roll the tone knob down to taste. We want something nice and dark, and then I'll just pick like a note or two and drone on them like this. I've been preferring this to swells lately. It's really cool, especially if you're light on keys for a weekend, or maybe it's a down moment of a song and you need a little extra juice live, but you don't want it to be like an obvious guitar part. Oh, and definitely try this with a shimmer verb because that can sound really cool too. I think it's important to remember that every time we play guitar, we are filling space. It's not just in those keyboard-esque ambient moments. So the question is, how do we fill space when we're not doing those ambient things? Well, it comes down to our tone and the parts we're playing. We can have a deep discussion on tone at another time, but in general, it's hard to go wrong with a good clean edge of breakup amp sound, a light drive, a big drive, modulated delay, and modulated reverb. Stereo time-based effects will definitely help your guitar sound wider, and if you're using a modeler, experiment with modulation, delay, and reverb after the amps for more clarity, and then before the amps for more prominent effect sounds. My main thing when dialing in effects is I always want to maintain clarity. I'm gonna have fun with my effects and make my guitar sound huge, but not at the expense of losing the clarity on what I'm playing. I don't want my guitar to sound like mush unless it's supposed to sound like mush. The equally important part of the equation is what you are playing. Always start by learning the record parts, and then you can add or subtract from there depending on what your arrangement needs live. My one note on guitar parts is, if you're the only guitarist on stage, make sure you're playing the part of the song that's driving that segment of the song. Psst. It's not always the lead part. Maybe you want to play some cool, sparkly lead high parts like this. But if you're the only guitar and there's a strong rhythm part doing this, you should probably play that part because it drives the song more, and it also looks kind of funky when the dominant part of the song is not being played on the stage. If you have a drivey bass and acoustic guitar, you can kind of get away with it a little bit, but in general, if the lead part isn't adding much or it's not signature to that segment of the song, I jump to the rhythm. There's plenty more to say about filling space, but hopefully this cleared that up a little bit for some of you. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to leave a like on it and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll catch you next time.
What do you think about filling space?